Lillian Miller is with the Federal Aviation Administration, and she's in the airports division. So she is in the division that my organization works the most with, and she is a very dedicated professional and is brimming with ideas. So we're looking forward to hearing from her.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Lillian Miller with the Federal Aviation Administration, and I'm really glad to be here. Today, I would like to talk about our advisory circular. As you know, Federal Aviation Administration, we have a lot of advisory circulars. They are technical guidance and technical standards. This is one of our advisory circular that is with a focus of disability. And it's written was written in 1999, and we are updating. And for first time, we are putting service animal relief area in this advisory circular. So it's again 5360-14A, access to airport for individual with disabilities. Okay. This advisory circular will assist airports in complying with requirements regarding individuals with disabilities by identifying the relevant statutes and regulation affecting airports, presenting the features, and listing sources of assistance or additional information. As you know, United States, we have 10,000 airports, of which 540 airports are public airports and busy airports. And it will apply to, it will also apply to airports operated by public entities, but it's useful for all airports. As I said, we have 10,000 airports, and I don't know the exact number of private airports in the United States, but it will be helpful for them. And currently, our regulations are saying that every airport in the United States must have service animal relief area, but it doesn't specify technical standards. So there is a need to update this advisory circular with the standards for service animal relief areas. As I said, it can only specify design standards, cannot specify maintenance, escort, and other operational issues. I'll go back. That's my favorite photograph. It's in line. Okay, so we have some issues that we covered in this advisory circular. It will be location and distance, wayfinding, signing, dimensions, surfaces, and other considerations. We recommend that of maximum 15 minutes to reach the area. And as Anne says, well, 15 minutes, what is the distance? Well, we measured on base of walking speed of 200 feet per minute, and that's really slow. That's person with very how call that, the very slow mobility. And this will include waiting time for elevators and escorts, and we know escorts can take a long time sometimes, especially when you have a gate change on the ground and they're waiting on the other gate and you're actually on the other gate. Okay, and this is some signage and wayfinding. We found the signage is not standardized. Like, we will have a little pole here at one of the airports, and it says pet relief area, which of course can be used for service animals. And we also have another blue and white service animal relief area. So we have a signage all over, they're not consistent. Also, finding, some airports will have it, some not. This is, I think, Chicago O'Hara Airport animal relief area with a little doggy sign straight ahead. Again, we recommend to signage be posted throughout the airport and marked on the airport maps if you're using websites and right now some airports have your iPhone, smartphones, apps that you will have that map on your phone, and you can find it. And of course, using standards, Americans with Disability Act compliance, print and braille. Size and shape. Well, it must be accommodating 10 pounds Yorkie as well as 90 pounds a large breed such as Great Dane, because we noticed that service animals who are assisting passengers with epilepsies, that some of them are big big people, and you need a Great Dane to catch them in case they fall. So we need big enough areas for the big dogs too. And it should be any shape as long as it's a 5-foot leash, so we can be around it, the circle. All right, this is one of our challenges, surfaces inside the terminal. We would like to see one hard area and the other canine grass was similar. So we noticed that different types of schools, guide schools, schools for training guide dogs and schools for training service dogs are training dogs to use different surfaces. So for example, the training schools in New York where there is no grass, they will train dogs to use any concrete. And if you see some training schools, the other area in the United States, there are plenty of grass, so they will use only to use grass. And here we have a problem that some dogs are trained to use only grass, and in airports you cannot have inside the grass. It's very difficult to use it. So until we standardize, we would like to see two different surfaces, so it depends which school you came, which part of the country, the dog has a choice. Gravel is good recommendation, and canine grass. Okay, so outside area, artificial turf. If we put artificial turf, some dogs will think it's a carpet, so they will not use it. And also, if on direct sun, it can heat up to 170 Fahrenheit, which is about 70 Celsius degrees. Could be really hot and unbearable for the dogs. We would like to see canine grass, which is antimicrobial agent. It's treated and it doesn't heat up, and it looks like the dogs like to use it. Mulch. We do not recommend mulch for the reason that some types of mulch can be poisonous, like cocoa shell mulch, and rubber mulch are treated with a lot of chemicals. So we do not recommend that for outside. Other consideration we have, accessible doors and gates. If for outside and inside, we would like to see fencing with automatic doors and gates, and artificial fire hydrant, because it's very important for the male dogs to be a visual, something visual, and it's very important for dogs to use it. They have to have something vertical. Of course, it's very important to mention that fire hydrant should not be in the middle, because it can be trip over a person who cannot see. It should be somewhere in a corner. Waste receptacle, we would like to see it on the way when you're exiting, so the people will know it's consistent right when you exit, not in the middle or who knows somewhere. It's hard to find them. And of course, assistant buttons and communication devices. All right, outdoor relief area preferable, but it's really not always possible because airports they're running out of space. It's very difficult to design within secure area, close to the gate, but outside. It's very difficult. However, if it's outside, we would like to see to be protected from the elements. Like yesterday, I was arriving and it was pretty cold in Montreal, and imagine going outside and waiting for a dog on 3 Celsius, or in Chicago when it's really, really cold and you have to go outside and wait for your dog. And another thing is, it shouldn't be up the hill because it's hard for wheelchair to go and move and your dog to push a wheelchair. So it should be kind of a flat surface. All right, this is one of the examples, Washington Dulles International Airport. There are 4 relief areas. Oops, excuse me. 4 relief, 2 outside and 2 inside. This is during construction. Again, this was I'm not an engineer, but they explained to me there's a little sand on the bottom for drainage, and then there is canine grass. And this is how they were putting together. Of course, signage, as you can see, the fire hydrant is a little bit on corner, not in the middle. And upon the exit, it's consistent. You have trash cans and bags. The doggy bags are right there. That's another one. That's on the East Back Lane Pet Relief Area, 265 square foot. Again, it's consistent. Fire hydrant is right there in the corner. And of course, gate is enough big for a wheelchair. Again, doggy bags and a trash can. Of course, this is inside. Inside, 2 terminals you will have in the middle. So no matter what gate you will go, you have in the middle, that's I think a Concourse C and a Concourse A. You will notice that what we like to see, and this is the perfect example, is that you do not have to take no escalators and no elevators. It's just straight way to your relief area next to the restroom for passengers, which makes so much sense. Okay, this is a indoor grass and flushing system. You can see this bunch of layers, and the drainage system, canine grass on the top. Again, you will see the signage and the door. This is inside, fire hydrant, trash can. This is very interesting. It's flushing system. You will basically flush like you're flushing your own toilet. After your dogs use it, you will just flush it, and it flushes. It's something in a NASA station, yeah? Well, it's not close to WestJet, but so right there. And this is exhaust system for the smell. Now, you have to understand, you have to leave some smell because dogs, you can't just clean them all the way and sanitize too much bleach because dogs like to smell the other dogs going in the bathroom. So you have to kind of leave a little bit more there. Here we go. All right, and this is for maintenance. I was told that this is in case the automatic button, flushing, doesn't work, then we have a manual, and this maintenance is using that too. It's locked because you notice some teenagers were messing with it, so we have to be locked and secured. All right, and another example I would like to see to tell you, it's about Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, again, inside the terminal area. Okay, this one is outside. They're using mulch. It is covered, but it's only covered the area that dogs are using. It's not cover your walkway, and we would like to see the whole walkway should be covered when you are reaching it. We would like to see that in Arizona, for example, where sand and asphalt can heat up. And you notice that some dogs will wear little boots because of protection, because it's very hot in Arizona, so the asphalt gets very hot. In the winter, you will have dogs also wearing another little boots because they're using salt on the streets, and it will bother the dogs. So you have to think about those little things when you're dealing with the service area. But this is also an example that it's in the corner. Right there, it's consistent. Doggy bags, trash cans, and a sign. This is inside. It's convenient because it's next to the family restroom and restroom for people with disability. So it's right there. It's in the braille, and it's the door it's assisting button. Okay, we also have tactile entrance sign right there, as I mentioned, and power assistant entrance. This is how it looks inside. This is our law enforcement dog that tested the area. This area using only one, using I think tiles for the dog. The one, we like this one because it's surrounding with the windows. And you have to kind of trick the dog that thinks it's outside. Because these dogs are trained to use relief area outside. So you have to make it to look like outside if it's inside. Okay, so you see a lot of sunlight coming in. The fire hydrant or here. Trash can, again, and sink for washing your hands and the other things here. And this was our industry conference that we had in FAA headquarters in Washington, D.C., April 10. We had input for a lot of training schools and handlers. And some resources. We have a research going on, guidebook for airport terminal restroom planning and designing, expecting publishing January 2015, which will include planning for your service animal relief areas. We also have, and this is the website, you can find it. As far as advisory circular, we also have advisory circulars on our library site and faa.gov that you can find this advisory circular that will be published in June 2015, we're expecting right now. And my contact information. So that's all I have. Any other questions? There is one question over there.
Sorry, I'm going to miss your presentation. I'll miss your presentation, sorry.
It's just a comprehensive view system.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Much cheaper.
So I'm paralyzed and I travel all the time, and I run a website called wheelchairtraveling.com, and I manage people all around the world, riders. So on any given year, or any given month for that matter, I talk to thousands and thousands and thousands of people who use a wheelchair. And without a doubt, the biggest concern people have about traveling is flying. So if you don't mind, I actually have 4 questions that I have about flying and whatnot. The first one is getting to the bathroom. And I'm very, very aware of the aisle chair on board, even though I've been told that it's actually not available on every single flight. It depends on the distance of the flight, and it depends on the airline. I've definitely called airlines and told that an aisle chair wouldn't be available for any particular flight. It was a very specific rules. My concern is that I don't consider myself overweight at all, and I think most people wouldn't say that I was overweight, but yet I have a very hard time fitting down those really narrow aisles to get into the bathroom. So I just can't imagine if there was anybody just slightly bigger than me, or a man who's 6 feet tall, being able to feel comfortable going down an aisle to get into the restroom. And I wanted to see if there was any programs in motion or effort to improve this at all.
That's a fair question. I guess a question for all of us, right? I would say that, as I said, research, the new research we have going on is with people with wheelchair, new bathroom design, it's airport design, and it's going on how to use the wheelchair. It will be published, and we are looking into that. My expertise is on a doggy restroom right now, so I cannot speak for the others.
She's talking about the airline.
But the airlines, is,
On the aircraft.
so let's see if.
Yeah, I'll do my best to address that. I think from a Canadian perspective, I'm not aware of any new initiatives in terms of new aisle chairs or new designs. I think there's a movement to keep making them narrower and lighter and stronger, but I have no concrete evidence of a program in place today. Sorry.
Give it back. She has 3 more.
That's all?
3 more questions. And then you were talking earlier about the adjustable armrests. And I've experienced multiple times where an airline doesn't have an adjustable armrest. Even though I've notified the airline that I'm in a wheelchair and I need an aisle chair to get onto the plane and everything, they still will sit me in a seat where the armrest doesn't move. And I've even experienced this. Usually I fly coach, but I have flown first class twice. And particularly, there was not a single one in first class that had an adjustable armrest. So is there anything going to be done about that, where every single airline would be required to at least have 1 row or section where that is happening?
Sure, I'll take that one initially. In Canadian terms, we have a regulation that requires 50% of the armrests on any given aircraft to be removable or adjustable. So it would be not imprudent to actually put you in a seat that had a fixed armrest, since 50% of the seats actually do have adjustable armrests in Canada anyways. And as far as the priority seating we have for set aside for persons with disabilities, they will always get those, and they're all adjustable, and that's a requirement under Canadian regulations as well.
Yeah. Going to this conference, I'm pretty convinced I need to move to Canada.
No.
And just to reassure you, we have the same requirement in Europe. The only problem is that the people providing assistance and the cabin crew don't always know which seats it is that have the lifting armrests. So you just need to check, and it's perfectly possible to check, and they should all be marked. So that is becoming, with all new aircraft, it's absolutely standard feature. So that at least is getting better.
Okay. And my third question, something that is a concern of many people. I'm able to transfer myself, but there has been twice where I've signed up to get assistance with being transferred onto my seat. And both times, it was just a very horrible experience with language and the people not listening to myself and my needs and me telling them what would be the proper way to lift me. And actually one time I was dropped because they didn't have somebody who was strong enough. And again, I don't consider myself necessarily overweight, but I would think they would have somebody, you know, strong enough to do that particular task. And so I'm wondering if there's some kind of gap in the training.
Again, I'll speak from a Canadian context. But there is, in fact, quite a large body of legislation on sensitivity training that is expected from the Canadian government on carriers operating in Canada, or to from Canada, I suspect. And I don't think that would be unique to Canada. So I think that might be a compliance issue for the carrier that didn't have the sensitivity training. As far as dropping, again, that's kind of our push towards the Eagle 2. It was an idea to remove some of that risk. You won't be dropped out of the device, but there's always going to be potential for human error, but I think we're doing what we can to reduce the risk of that, for sure.
So what you're saying is each airline has their own program, or?
They're, under Canadian legislation, we're required to have a program, how
Okay.
effective, and it gets audited every 2 years, and what they're looking for is content, make sure it has the right material in it. The delivery, they'll verify that the material is being delivered, and training records that it's been done. But again, it's back to the effectiveness of the training, so.
I definitely like that. I'm going to be bringing that up to the States, because I feel like, from my experience at least, all the airports that I've been to needing assistance, each airline isn't responsible. It's basically the airport itself that, you know, hires these people, and these are the people who are going to be lifting everyone. So last question. I saved the best for last.
Well, let
sorry.
Anne also try to address that one.
Really, just to say, it's pretty much, obviously not as good as Canada, but we're on the same lines. So training is now, it's delivered individually by airlines and by, in Europe it's slightly different in that the responsibility for getting you on board is with the airport, not with the airline. So the only time the cabin crew would be involved in transfer is if you wanted to use the toilet during the flight. Otherwise, it's airport personnel and trained staff who would be doing it. But the training requirements are not, I'm sad to say, as well enforced and monitored as they are in Canada, but they're basically from the same starting point.
Okay, again, my last question, but it's a good one. So the number one reason why people don't travel in a wheelchair is because they are so fearful that their wheelchair is going to get lost or broken. Is there a way that policy could be changed where baggage is treated as a separate issue than wheelchairs or medical equipment, like a whole different procedure set up to handle wheelchairs and other devices?
All right, I'll start again with the Canadian context. It is actually deemed a medical device and a mobility device, so obviously there's no charges, and I think that's pretty universal. So then when it comes to prioritization, they are loaded first over baggage. They take priority, so it won't be, your chair won't be bumped off in lieu of baggage. The damage issue is historic. It's prevalent. I wish I had a solution for it. We're striking a working committee, likely with the Canadian government, to come up with some solutions. Sometimes it's the shape and size of the aircraft door, and they have to, some, particularly for power chairs, have to be tilted, and of course there's control issues, damage on the arms. I don't have a silver bullet for that one. I think all we can do is continue to pack them as safely as we can in the pits of the aircraft.
Would it be possible to actually have a separate section in the cargo, so you have all the luggage and then a separate section for just medical equipment, so a bag doesn't, you know, fall on a power chair and hit the armrests and so. But, you know, let's say if there's no medical devices, then that can be just filled up with regular luggage.
I mean, it's going to be predicated on weight and balance in terms of the distribution of weight of the aircraft, but I've been open to anything, right? So we'll look at everything, sure. Thanks.
Can I just add to that a very good example from Sweden, where they trained the guys who actually load the chair into the belly of the aircraft, and the wheelchair users came along and did training, and it reduced the incidence of damage by about 80%. So again, training can cure a lot of these problems. The guys just were, you know, picking it up by the easiest bit that came to hand, which was probably the powered control box. Didn't matter to them, but after the training they understood the importance, and it was dramatic.
Afterwards, can I talk to you about that training and
Sure.
try to get to the States?
And Lillian, are there any requirements in the U.S. with respect to this?
Okay. The requirements regarding the wheelchair, Yes, there is Air Carrier Act from 2008 that requires proper handling, as I'm concerned about it, but I'm not expert. But yeah, we have requirements for wheelchair and damages and all the other stuff.
Let me just, I was CEO at Atlanta Airport when we were preparing for the Olympics, and the Olympics also comes with the Paralympics. And so we did major training for handling, particularly for handling wheelchairs, both the athletes as well as the spectators, because for many of them it was very, very fancy wheelchairs, very expensive and use of power wheelchairs, and it made a huge difference for the ground staff to understand two things. One, what is that this is an implement that is a piece of very sophisticated equipment, and number two, how helpless the person is without it, so that this is a vital piece of equipment and a very sophisticated piece of equipment. So you really can't overstress the training. And I think the issue is it's got to be, as I think in Ann's presentation, it's got to be recurring. It's better once a lot of people travel in wheelchairs, because then the staff becomes experienced with it. But if it's an ad hoc, fairly infrequent occurrence, it's very difficult to keep training up on anything. And so I think that's definitely has to be a takeaway on, just as you have in the fire department or anything else in terms of training requirements. And I think that's a very good point. Okay, any other questions?
Thank you. My name is Vanda Shagovac from Croatia. I am tourist manager, and many times as I have traveled, deaf people are mobile, but always we have, uncomfortable situations when we ask for assistance. For example, when we came to the airport and assistant doesn't know sign language, he doesn't know sign language, he just says sit in the wheelchair, and we don't want that. We just need your communication, help us check in, simple tasks, but we feel like we are discriminated, which means that they don't have sign language education. A lot of deaf people don't know English language, for example, Italian, Spanish people, and when they come to United States, for example, when I was traveling, we have a bad experience from it, because I was forced to sit in the wheelchair. I think they need some more education. Also in London, we were recently, we had a flight delayed from Croatia. We lost our connections, and honestly, without a sign language interpreter, my assistant who is with me today, I wouldn't even arrive here in Canada.
Let me see if I can answer that. So the question was missing not adequate sign language on airports in the United States.
In multiple languages.
In multiple languages. Yeah, it depends which airport. We are, again, having other research going on to do that, to solve that problem. But we also installed a lot of automatic machines, and we in the United States think automatic will solve all the problems, but it doesn't all the time, and it's not in languages. Right now we do have people who can't hear. Some airports are installed in multiple languages. You will select your language and it will print it, but we are getting there. Again, we do have I don't know which airport, but we do have a sign language in mostly airports, as I said. Chicago, That will be individual airports. However, in the United States, the DOT, we kind of fine people. The fines are huge, so they have motivation to continue. But I think they're required. I don't know. I don't speak on behalf. I'm not an attorney, but I think they're required to have a sign language interpreter or something like that to accommodate by our DOT regulations. But that would be nice to know and submit. We also have airport compliance resolution officer, and you can also submit that and email to them, and they will solve that resolution, we call officer, and they're required by our laws and regulations. So it's also, we have air travel compliance officer and website that you can submit your complaints and you will receive response. That's by DOT, I believe it goes. So I think something like that would happen to you. I think it's important to let know the airport immediately.